வாவாதாரே ஊட்டாண்டே நீ வரங்காட்டி நான் விடமாட்டேன் ஜாம்பஜ ஜக்கு நான் சைதா பேட்டை கொக்கு. This is from a Tamil movie, Bomalatam, and the song is also in Tamil. But what is this strange Tamil that we are hearing in this song? That is known as Madras Bhashai. Let us see how this very interesting language evolved over a period of time. If you go to any city, a study of the local dialect will always help you to understand how the city grew. For instance, if you go to Bombay, they speak a very strange form of Hindi, which you will immediately be able to identify as to what were the influences that came into the structuring of that particular language. Madras Bhashai is no different. It is a language that is completely unique to the city of Madras, that is Chennai. Let us go back in history to see how this evolved. Chennai or Madras was very much a Tamil city if you look at it from very ancient times. So, this is where you have had Mylapore, where Valluvar is supposed to have lived and composed his Tirukkural, one of the great wonders of the Tamil language. Similarly, this is where Samandar came and composed his famous Poompavai Padigam in chaste Tamil. In Chennai, you have the district of Tiruvottriyur, where Tamil and Sanskrit were encouraged historically. If you had mutts that taught both the languages in that village, you also had a pavilion inside the temple called the Vyakarana Dana Mantapa, where Sanskrit was exclusively practiced. So, these must have been the two languages that must have flourished over here for a very long time. The English came here in 1639 to trade, and when they came here, they ensured that this city grew. And we must remember that unlike the other cultural capitals of Tamil Nadu, such as Tanjavur or Madurai, this was a city that was founded entirely with trade as its basis. You will also notice that between a city that promotes culture and a city that promotes trade, there is always a lot of difference. In the cultural cities, you will find that the language is very refined, very slow, very poetic, whereas in a commercial city, the language is very fast. Speed is of the essence. You need to communicate and you need to get on with your activity. Madras Bhashai grew exactly because of that. When the English came here, and the Portuguese and the Dutch for that matter, they didn't know the local language. All of them depended on interpreters. These interpreters slowly learnt the words that were being used by their colonial masters and began to bring it into all their communication. And they began to use a lot of foreign words in their common language. That is how the language really began to evolve. The East India Company was perpetually short of funds because gold had to come from England. Very often those ships wouldn't come, they would sink on the way, they would be attacked by pirates and so on. As a result, they needed money on loan. And to finance this came all the Marwadis and the Seths and the Chettiars and the Chettis, and they all settled in places such as Mint Street in Sahukarpet. Sahukar or Saukar is a money lender, and they brought their language as well. Then came the Nawabs of Arcot. They were speaking in Urdu, and a lot of Urdu got mixed into Tamil. Gradually, Madras Bhashai grew. I very often think that Madras Bhashai is like a multi-storied building. The ground floor and the foundation is all Tamil, and then slowly you have the other languages which create an edifice of their own. It is a mix. What in Madras Bhashai would be called Galabai. Galabai actually comes from a beautiful Tamil word, Kalavai, which actually just means a mix, an amalgam. And that is what we are looking at over here today. Now, let us see some of the influences of all these languages. When an elderly person is walking along, people address him as Naina, or when a small boy is going along, as a term of endearment also, people address that person as Naina. This comes from the Telugu word for father, Nana, and then corrupted and slowly made into Naina over here. Then, if you look at that famous movie song, Kasu, Panam, Duddu, Mani, Mani, in that one sentence, practically the entire monetary history of Madras is written. Kasu is a Tamil word which became in English cash, Panam is a Sanskrit word, Duddu is a Telugu word, and then you have money, which is an English word. All these combined together will tell you the entire history of the place. And then we have had all kinds of interesting words that have come to us from English. wrong, assault, regent. The English meaning is completely different, the Tamil meaning is completely different, and yet we use it in everyday language. And then we have expressions like OC. OC is on company charge. In those days, East India Company servants, if they wanted to send something back to England, if they had to send it personally, they would have to spend their money. On the other hand, if it was stamped on company, then the company, East India Company would pay for it, they would not be paying. So, anything that was done for free became OC. KD is a known delinquent, a person who keeps coming back, a repeat defaulter to police stations. Policemen would know who that is, and so he became a KD, which is also used in Tamil. Urdu has supplied a huge number of words to Madras Bhashai. So, you have got Bezar, which is Bejaru in Tamil, which means a big trouble, a pot of trouble. Bemani, which comes from Beiman, a person who has got no scruples of any kind whatsoever. And then we have this very interesting expression, Savugraki, customer of death. If somebody comes in front of a running vehicle, the driver is bound to abuse him, Savugraki. Now, where does this come from? Early in the morning, the jhatkas, that is the horse carriages, would stand in front of Central Station, hoping for live passengers to come and then get on and to be taken to various places. If they did not find anybody, they would then move to the general hospital, which was exactly the opposite side, and from the mortuary the dead bodies would start coming out, and those were passengers who were all recumbent, and they were known as Savugrakis, dead customers, and thereafter that expression became very common in this city. All kinds of funny words. Initially, the Madras Bhashai was looked down upon by the literati and the intellectuals of the city. They looked upon it as something that was ungrammatical, as something that was cheap, that was vulgar. But gradually there came an awareness that it had a lot of potential for comedy, and so it began to get into theatre. From theatre, it slowly made itself into cinema. And perhaps the first person to speak Madras Bhashai on screen was the famous comedian Kalaivanar N.S. Krishnan in his movie Nallathambi, where he does a Harikatha performance and renders his Kindanar Charitram, where he talks about rickshaw pullers coming together to meet Kindan as he gets off from this train, and he says, one of the rickshaw pullers said, "Isthukinu poren naina." So, he uses the word isthu instead of ilithu, and then he stops there and he says, what a wonderful expression these people have created, isth from ilithu, and he laughs at it, and that is probably the first reference that we have. The comedian J.P. Chandrababu made it very popular in his roles, and then we have this film Bomalatam with Manorama and Cho singing this particular song, and it became very, very popular. Madras Bhashai is a classic example of a language that continues to evolve, and therefore perhaps it has a very bright future, because new words keep getting added to it all the time, and the language of today is not the language that we had several years ago. Therefore, this is a language that we have to watch out for. I do not think we can just brush it off by saying that this is not the language that we are comfortable with. This is the language of a very vibrant city, and therefore, we have to get to know all that it is about. I think I have spoken long enough, and as Manorama said in that particular song, Sardavama Kannu, Bada Bejarachi Ninnu. Long time, lots of trouble, enough, let us go. I will see you next week with some more fun facts on history. Bye for now.